The sound of rain against the window pane strips away illusions. I was sitting in our Munich apartment watching the steam rise from my coffee when Elena's message arrived. A weekend getaway to the Austrian lakes, she wrote, needing to escape the heavy Bavarian autumn. I replied with a warm phrase, but my hand paused. There is a specific frequency of silence that develops between two people who have stopped looking each other in the eye. For months, Elena had been drifting, present in body, but absent in spirit. The name Julian didn't arrive with a flourish. It appeared in the background of a photograph posted by her friend 3 days into the trip. A tall man standing just a little too close to Elena near the water's edge in Hallstatt, holding her coat. It was a gesture so instinctively intimate that it hit me like a physical blow. Then came a casual mention in a group chat. Julian had helped secure the lakeside villa. Julian was simply there, weaving himself into her weekend, an uninvited guest who had made himself indispensable. I didn't storm out or call her in a fury. Rage is a clumsy tool. It shatters the glass but leaves you bleeding among the shards. Instead, I poured another cup of coffee and allowed the cold, analytical part of my mind to take over. I have built a career in corporate restructuring, a field where you identify the exact point of failure in a complex system. Julian was a vulnerability, a crack in the foundation of my life. On Monday, I contacted Thomas, a private investigator whose discretion I had tested during a dispute years ago. I gave him a name, a cropped photo, and 48 hours. The report that arrived was a blueprint of a deeply insecure man. Julian was a master of appearances. He lived in a rented penthouse he couldn't afford, drove a sports car leased under a shell company, and survived on the patronage of wealthy, older investors whom he charmed into disastrous business ventures. When Elena returned on Tuesday, she looked radiant. She kissed my cheek, a dry, practiced gesture, and began talking about the quiet beauty of the lakes. I listened, smiling, asking gentle questions, watching her eyes dart away. I didn't bring up Julian. I wanted her to believe the water was perfectly still before the storm arrived. That night, while Elena slept, I began the work. I didn't threaten Julian directly. Instead, I started to pull on the loose threads of his carefully constructed life. I used untraceable digital channels to contact 3 of his primary financial backers, sending cold, verifiable financial data. I highlighted the irregularities in the investment portfolios he managed, the overlapping loans, the fabricated credentials he used to secure their trust. I did it quietly, presenting myself merely as a concerned analyst. Simultaneously, I initiated a subtle psychological campaign. Julian began receiving brief, cryptic emails containing nothing but addresses of places he had visited with Elena, paired with dates and times. No threats, just the realization that his every movement was being observed by an invisible entity. The power of the unknown is far more terrifying than any direct confrontation. A man who lives a lie is constantly looking over his shoulder. By Friday, the cracks in Julian's polished facade began to show. Thomas reported that Julian had missed critical business meetings. His leased car had been spotted parked haphazardly outside a bank, and he had spent hours pacing the floor of his apartment. The pressure was mounting, a silent vice tightening around his neck. The climax of my design occurred on Sunday evening. Elena was at a gallery opening, leaving me alone. I knew Julian would come. I had sent him a final direct message from an anonymous burner account, suggesting that his financial backers were about to contact the authorities, but offering a single chance to resolve the matter. The address I provided was mine. When the doorbell rang, I opened it to find a shadow of the man from the Hallstatt photograph. His coat was damp, his tie askew, his eyes wide with a frantic, sleepless energy. He tried to speak, to assert dominance, but his voice betrayed him. He looked past me into the quiet foyer, searching for Elena. "She isn't here, Julian," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, inviting him in. He entered hesitantly, like a man stepping onto thin ice. "What do you want?" he hissed. "You're ruining my life." "You ruined your own life when you mistook my silence for weakness," I told him. "I didn't write your false ledgers, Julian. I simply showed the world who you actually are, and I can make it much worse." He tried to paint me as a monster, but I simply placed a printed folder on the table. It contained a comprehensive legal dossier detailing his fraudulent financial activities, ready to be delivered to the prosecutor's office. If you ever contact Elena again, or if you are ever seen within a mile of this neighborhood, this folder leaves my hands, I said. You will be imprisoned. Powerless, he nodded, a broken man accepting his defeat, and walked out into the cold rain. Elena returned an hour later, chatting happily about the art she had seen. She noticed the quiet intensity in my eyes as I handed her a cup of tea. "You seem different tonight," she murmured, "more peaceful." "I am," I replied, sitting beside her. "The air is clearing." She didn't ask further. Julian vanished from her social circle within days, deleting his profiles and moving to another country to escape his creditors. Elena wondered once or twice what had happened to him, but the questions soon faded. She will never know the details of that cold October week. She will only know that the space between us grew warm again, rebuilt on a foundation of unspoken respect. Some boundaries are quiet, but they are absolute, and the men who try to cross them will find that the silent keeper of the house is far more dangerous than the storm.